So today we are doing is on product research, but it's specifically ZonGuru's niche finder and specifically our Chrome extension, because we have got a few new features on our Chrome extension. So we wanted to really go through what exactly the new features are and what can actually be done with the Chrome extension, because I feel like it is quite an intuitive tool. You go up that you have it up, all the data points are there, but there are a few things that maybe you didn't realize that you can do, which makes the tool even more powerful. So that's what we're going to show you. Kimberly, I see your screen. Yeah. I assume everyone else can see your screen, so off you go.
Great. All right. So we are going to be talking about how you can elevate your product research and using the Chrome extension. And the new Chrome extension is so cool. It's even more intuitive than it was before. And Kimberly French always laughs when I say this, but I'm going to say it again anyway. This is one of my favorite tools. So I say that about every single tool. They're all my favorite. I love them all. But this one is, I use this one extensively. Every single day I'm using this tool because it's going to help me figure out the buyer demand. It's going to help me evaluate my competition. It's going to show me what the investment is going to be. And if I'm meeting that investment sweet spot that's right for my business and the capital that I have available. And then it's going to show me the revenue potential. It's going to be a product that I can make money off of. So we are not going to waste too much time with slides. Let's just move right into a demonstration. So I'm going to jump into ZonGuru first. So this is, there we go, Niche Finder. So this is where we went through this last week, but just a quick recap. This is a place to go to get ideas. So if you don't know what niche you want to jump into, you just want to find out what the data is going to tell you, which is the best way to make a product determination is following that data. This is where you can go and start. But we're going to focus more on the Chrome extension today, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things here within ZonGuru, how you can get to that Chrome extension. So there's basically 3 ways you can launch your Chrome extension. So from the menu over here, under product research, right here, you could just click Chrome extension and that will launch it straight away. Or if you've run a niche finder session and you have products here, like you've selected, like here we go, shower curtain set. This is a really interesting niche and we're going to take a look at that today. But these little dots here, if you click the little puzzle piece here, that will launch you directly into Amazon in the marketplace that you're looking at with this keyword. So that's what we'll go ahead and do now. We'll just take a look at shower curtain set and take a look at it with the Chrome extension. So Chrome extension is loading. There we go. Now, the other way to get the Chrome extension is once you have it, don't want to sign in. Thank you.
Kimberly, before you start, on our screen, our faces are over the Chrome extension. Are you able to move them out the way?
I sure can. Let's move.
And Kevin, congratulations. Very exciting.
All right. So the other way is when you just go to Amazon, either Amazon Australia or Amazon US or India or UK and Europe, you can just have your Chrome extension installed in your Google Chrome browser and you will see it. It will be a little place right here and you can just, once you've put in your search, you can just pop it open. So this is the new Chrome extension, everybody. If you are familiar with the old Chrome extension, this will look a little bit different to you. So what are some of your favorite parts, Veronica? Where do you start when you're using the Chrome extension?
Well, in terms of, obviously, all the data points are there. I'm looking at the rainbow immediately, but something that I like doing now is like when I know what I'm looking at is I love that we can change the columns around because I'm mostly looking at the revenue and the sales. So I like if you hover over it, you can actually drag the columns and I like having them right at the front. So that's like my first default thing that I like doing is like, okay, revenue,
that is so cool.
Number of sales. So it's all customized depending on what you're looking at and at different when you have different businesses and depending on why you're doing your product research, whether it's a completely new brand, or you're wanting to create a brand or just one product, you're gonna consider different values more at that point in time. At the moment, what I like to know, here to make money, aren't we? So this is a business after all. So I am looking at the revenue. We need to know the demand. So that's like the first thing I like to do is like getting the revenue there, as well as the number of sales I like to put up there as well.
Yeah. So I do the same thing. I go straight to the rainbow. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the Chrome extension, we will go through all the different aspects of it quickly as well. Well, not quickly. We'll go through all of them. And if you have any questions about any of them, just pop it in the chat. So the niche score is made up of these 4 different metrics. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that this is a unique training because we are going through specifically this tool. So if there is any number that you don't know what it means on this page, this is the training to say, because we're being very specific. We're spending our whole time on this so we can go into a lot of depth, basically. Absolutely.
And then how all of this will help you with your product research to make the right decision and pick the right product for your business. So this niche score, we like to say anything over 50 or 55 is something to look at a little bit further. If you came in and it was below that, then that would be a red flag right off the bat and say, not good. So the niche score is made up of your buyer demand, which comes from your search volume, your competition opportunity. So that's determining how strong the competition is. And that's going to look at the ratings and the listing strength and how they're presenting their listings on the page. The investment sweet spot, so that has to do with how much it's going to take to launch. And the launch budget, this is a little bit of a high launch budget. And I think some of this might be left over from Christmas. I think these numbers went up around Christmas. This must be a giftable item for some people. But the launch budget is how much you're going to need to invest to be able to have enough stock to stay in stock for your first 3 months, based on the sales velocity of page 1. And right now you can see this is a very high sales velocity. And I don't think that is typically going to be your norm. I think this did go up at Christmas time because I've looked at this a few different times. And then you've got your revenue potential. So, this is looking at a revenue of $69,000 a month. So that's pretty substantial. Again, so we've got a good search volume, your BSR. So this has to do with your bestseller rank. So this is the one number when you're looking at your research that you want to be low. Everything else you want to be high. This one you want to be low, because if your BSR is 1, then you are the best seller for that product in that category. So we've got our average sales for all of the products listed on page 1, and all of these numbers do come from page 1. The average price, the average ratings, the average rating. So the average ratings is the number of reviews and ratings that a product may have, and the average rating is the average score out of 5. So across page 1, we're looking at an average rating of 4.4, and then we've got our average monthly revenue and our launch budget that we've already talked about.
Mm-hmm. If I can add, Kimberly, when we're talking about the rainbow, so there's a few things to consider. So when we teach, the ZonGuru community how to do product research, there are, guidelines that we give, especially when you're starting. So, for example, when we say that the rainbow should be over 50% is usually a good start. When you start to, become a seasoned product researcher, you begin to acknowledge, okay, if it's 50% or if it's 40% or if it's 70%, how does that relate to my personal situation and what I want to create as a business and do as a business? So, for example, this niche score is 62%. So that's a high niche score. However, as Kimberly pointed out, the launch budget is $69,000. So that can be, or depending where you're at, that for some people, that's a very low launch budget. For other people, it's a very high launch budget. So you have to bring in your personal factors. So if you already know that you have, your launch budget is 10 grand, you're going to look at that. And even though the data might be being like, oh, this is the rainbow says that it's a great niche, it doesn't suit your personal needs. So when you're doing product research, these are the things that you have in your head. What is my launch budget? And also these data points of what you should be looking at changes from marketplace. So we do have, if you're using, and I hope you are, we have our product tracker sheet. And in there, we actually have a table which shows you what kind of numbers you should be looking at. So for example, versus US versus Australia versus the UK. US is a very mature Amazon marketplace. Therefore, the search volume and the revenue potential is considerably higher than Australia. Australia is still in its infancy, but it's an up and coming. It's the fastest Amazon marketplace currently in the world, but the numbers are vary. So something that is a wicked opportunity in Australia may not be the same in America. So it is very much marketplace dependent, and what numbers you're looking at to determine if it's a great opportunity will vary from marketplace to marketplace. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. Don't think that you can go and look in Australia and in the US and come up with one product that's going to work in both marketplaces. It may, obviously there's definitely opportunities that would, but you need to make sure that you do your separate research for those marketplaces.
And that's a brilliant point. And our product tracker sheets, we actually have them now customized per marketplace. So those metrics are built into that as you plug in your data points. And a product that could be really, really difficult to launch in the US could be a brilliant opportunity in Australia because it is an emerging marketplace. Your sales volume may not be as high and your income may not be as high, but how many of us look at Amazon US and go, oh, I wish I had gotten in and started selling in America in 2008 or 2009? Well, that's what you're looking at right now with Australia. So if you're going to play the long game, this is the time to get in. So
and I know that
we can talk about that all day long.
Yeah, exactly. And me personally, I know Kimberly is as well. We're working on our own products to launch in Australia. So it is a very exciting place to be. So consider the other marketplaces when you are doing your market research.
Well, that's a typo, Veronica. It's bestseller rank, not rack.
Excuse me, guys. I hope no one got offended.
That's okay. So the product tracker sheet, you can get that from the ZonGuru website through our free resources tab, or you can just reach out to support and we can get that to you for the marketplace or get you the link to that. Okay, so let's move on. So many features. So where to start? So we'll just start at the beginning. So we've got all of the rows selected. So you can see here we have 56 rows are selected. You can't see it because we're over. Typically, you have more results on page one than you have rows selected. And that's because we don't automatically select anything that is a sponsored ad. So you don't want your sponsored ads in this mix because you could have the same product in twice. It could be on there organically and it could be on there as an ad. So you don't want to put it in twice and it would skew your numbers. Something that I really find useful, and it depends on the keyword. Sometimes I'll find a keyword and I'll search it and there'll be products on the page that aren't relevant. And so I want to take those out of the mix. So you can scroll through here and as you hover, the picture will enlarge and you can make sure that all of these products are relevant. So, if you're looking for something and you find that there are things on here that aren't exactly what you're wanting to compare, you can deselect them and that will then change your numbers. So just hit refresh. Oh, it's moving slow because we're streaming. There we go.
While this is loading, so bestseller rank, so the BSR, is that every product receives a ranking once it has had a sale, basically. So the more products you're selling, the lower your score is going to be. So when you look at a product, the best-selling products on Amazon, they're going to be, hashtags, so #1 of a certain category. So it's a bestseller rank. So it gives you a good indication of how well a certain product is selling in the whole category. So, if there's 1 million products in that category and this product is number, 300, it is number 300 in that category.
So I've just deselected a couple of these, and I don't know if you noticed while I was doing it, the launch budget changed. So I've taken a few of the Amazon basics out, and that did change our budget. So, like I said, I'm looking for shower curtain set, and there are products on here that are just a single shower curtain. And I don't necessarily want those because I'm looking to sell the set, which is the shower curtain and the rugs and the toilet seat cover and all of that. So that would make an impact on your data here. Your search volume isn't going to change because it's still based on what we typed into the bar, shower curtain set. So you can select or deselect different ones and adjust those numbers so you're getting exactly what your the data points that you're after. Another thing too, if you see these numbers, so we've got one, there should be two, there we go. These are it'll show you the first, second, and third top clicked listings for this keyword. So those are the ones that are getting, this one is getting the most clicks. This one is getting the second most clicks. So that's important to know as well. Now, another feature that I use, I'm sorry.
So I was going to say, so those three numbers, when you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I wonder who the best is on this page. You can look at revenue, so you can consider, click on revenue and then it orders from revenue. Obviously, they're making the most sales, but do compare of price. Obviously, when something is, of a higher price, their revenue is going to be greater, so you can take that into the consideration. But you also want to know who's getting a click. So when someone's writing in shower curtain set, who are they clicking on first? And for some reason, they're getting the click. Usually or quite commonly, it is their hero shot. So you want to see, okay, number one, it's like, what about this hero shot? Are they doing really well compared to the competitors around them? So again, you're thinking about, this is what they're doing really well. They're winning. This is what their competition is doing. If I entered this niche, could I compete with them? Could I make mine better?
And the way that I like to figure out if I can compete also is looking at the ratings. So like Veronica said, you can sort by revenue. So I've sorted here. So we have the highest revenue, but you can also sort by ratings. Now, if I click it again, it's going to sort by the lowest ratings. So I will do this and I will look at the ones with the lower ratings and then see, are they making sales? So because we've reordered, it's right next to each other. So, this one has 2 ratings. They're still making $14,000 a month. This one, 3 ratings. So you can see here, this is going to tell me that if I was to jump into this marketplace and get on page 1 with no ratings or very few ratings, would I be able to make sales? And looking at this, there are people with less than 100 ratings that are making sales, 35,000 with 44 ratings. So that's something that I look at, after I look at the big numbers. That's the number I look at. Can I get into this page and still make sales? Because for me, it doesn't necessarily scare me that there's someone here with 36,000 ratings if there are people with less than 100 ratings that are still making sales. And you can see here that there are quite a few with less than 200 ratings making $45,000 in revenue in a month. So that's a key metric that I always consider.
Oh, I really like that. I might steal that off of you.
Oh, that's like go-to, because I'll look at it and it's like, okay, well, they've got a lot of ratings, but doesn't matter. Can I still get in?
And having them
there's still room.
Like that. That's great.
Such a great feature to be able to do this. Now, this is another metric that I look at a lot, and this is the listing score. And if you can see, if you ever forget what something is telling you, you can hover over it and a little explanation blurb will pop up. So this is the quality of the product listing out of 10 points. So high listing strength is a listing that's well optimized and is most likely going to convert to a sale. So you can see out of 10, we've got listings. So let's just sort that. So the best listing is listed as a 7.5. But let's look at the worst listing. So we've got 2.8. Here's one with 2.8, still making $9,400 a month. 3.2, $25,000 a month. So that's something else to look at. Are there listings that are really, really bad, but they're still making sales? So if I go in with a really good listing, really well optimized, using my keywords, using good photography, am I going to be able to compete against these guys? And absolutely, I know I can get in with a better listing score than these guys. So
And
that's another key metric they look at.
Yeah. And then what you do with the highest one, when you're up to this stage, if you were going forward, is that you would get that higher, the 7.5 rating listing, get that ASIN and put it into your listing optimizer to make sure that you are out optimizing their number one listing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another thing that you want to do, like we mentioned, that a lot of these figures could be inflated because we're just past Christmas. And so they could still have, a rollover of high sales because of that time of year. So we want to look at them historically. So we want to pop them into Sales By, which after, Niche Finder, Chrome Extension, Sales By, that's the order that we do our product research in. And there's a really great way to be able to do that, super easy. And here under the actions column. So right here, the little plus, add to Sales By. So I could go down here, boom, and with just a click of the button, they're added in Sales By. And then I could open Sales By clicking again and see that listing and see their historical data. Mm-hmm. So that's a super, I'm using that constantly. I'm going through and looking at, okay, who are the ones that I really need to evaluate more deeply to make sure I can compete against them? And I'll go through and just click and add them to Sales By.
Yeah. So why is it important to see a product's historical data? Well, there are a few reasons. So firstly, you want to establish if a product is seasonal. So if I use an obvious example, let's say a swimming pool, a swimming pool, if you write in swimming pool on Amazon, you might say like right now, if you look at these figures, they may be really, really low. Because, especially, depending on what part of the world you are at as well. But if you're looking at, you're in the US, majority of the country, it's cold. Okay, so there's not many pools going out. But if you were looking at this data in June, these numbers would be going through the roof. So you need to consider, is this product seasonal? So you can have if you're not quite sure, if it's not obvious, like, swimming pool, it's summer, it's winter, doesn't work that way. You can put it into Sales By and you can stretch it out over a year and you can see the graph shows you, the performance of it. Is it seasonal? If it's not, and depending on what exactly you're looking at, you can make a decision on going forward. Q4, Christmas time, as an Amazon seller, you wait for this period all year long. You wait for Q4 and December because most people are online shopping. So we do expect there to be higher sales across the board, generally speaking. But you do need to have a look if there's a drastic dip. And have you accounted for that?
And in looking at this product previously in other trainings, one thing that we noticed when we did look at it in Sales By is a few of the products, which were quite floral in their design, they actually had peaks in April and May. So that was like, oh, this must be popular for Mother's Day. So it's like, you can look at. You can take a look and see, okay, well, this is obviously you wouldn't necessarily think that shower curtain set would be a hot gift, but maybe it is for some people. So you want to make sure that you can do your inventory planning. So that's just another layer of the research that you can, and the data that you can add to your product research when you're doing this. Moving on with more product research. So I know we are focusing on Chrome extension, but this feeds into so many of our other tools like Sales By, but it also feeds into love hate, and it feeds into keywords on fire. And the way it does that is with the ASIN function. So when you go to keywords on fire, which is again one of my absolute favorite tools, you can enter ASINs, and you can either enter in the 25 ASINs yourself of ASINs that you want to look at. Say you want to take a look at your top 25 competitors here and get all of their keyword information and how they're ranking on these keywords. Well, it can be laborious to try and get all of those keywords over if you don't know this hot tip. So you can go through, select the ones that you want, and then just click this button, copy selected ASINs. Then you go to keywords on fire, you go to that ASIN field, you click there and you paste, and boom, all of the ASINs that you wanted from there are in there. And you can do the same thing with love hate. You can take all of those ASINs and put them into love hate, and then get the evaluation on what people are saying when they leave reviews. What are the pain points that they're not covering, or the problems that they have with their product quality that they're not fixing that you can come in and beat and, you know, compete really strongly in the category. Okay, moving on. Other things here to take a look at. So ABC, do they have enhanced brand content or A+ content? So that's going to be important. And here at a glance, this is a new feature or new placement to find that information out in this Chrome extension. You can just take a look and see, and you can sort by that as well. Who doesn't have enhanced brand content? Well, there's quite a few of them here who don't. So you know, if you're brand registered, you can go in with a listing with enhanced brand content or A+ content and have a much better listing than all of these competitors. Another thing that's really big, and I find this one incredibly useful when I'm looking in the Amazon and the Australian marketplace, is the fulfillment. So is it fulfilled by Amazon? Is it FBA or is it FBM? So we've got some here that are fulfilled by Amazon. We've got FBA. And do we have any FBMs? Doesn't look like it. But in the Australian marketplace, I'm finding, especially for my product, which is why I'm so keen to get my manufacturer sorted and get products into Australia, there are not any people selling my product that are fulfilling it by Amazon. So they're either fulfilling it themselves, or they're US sellers that have that global selling capacity to have their product shipped from the United States into Australia. So that tells me that I'm going to have a huge advantage if I can get in as one of those first FBA sellers in Australia, because Amazon is going to give you preferential treatment and preferential placement of your listing. So literally without any PPC, as the first FBA seller, I would be in the first position without advertising. And that's huge. That's a game changer. Oh, you're answering another question. Sorry. Okay. So another really cool thing here is how many sellers. So you can see here, this product is being sold by 2 people. So it's not anything that's protected. They don't have any IP protection over it. It's just a stock standard product that they've grabbed off the shelf and are selling. So they're not necessarily private labeling it, they're white labeling it. So that is another thing to consider. If you've got, you know, multiple sellers, you know, 2 people selling this same product, it's not unique. So that tells you, this one seller, this looks like an original design. So that's something, you know, you would want to come in with that kind of cool, unique design and really differentiate your product and stand out and have that layer. That's just one of those layers that builds that moat around your brand to protect you as you grow your business. Anything you want to add before I get onto the filters?
No, I think that in terms of what we're going through there, looks pretty good.
All right, excellent. So this is a game changer right here. So filters. Click on this button and you can, so you can see here, you can hide sponsored products from the results, which we mentioned before. You don't want your advertising, the listings that are ads going into this. But if you do want to see how that changes the dynamics and the figures, you can untick that and you can have that updated. But you can also go through here and sort by those that are selling a particular price, restrict it to only get the rating. So if you want to see only people with ratings under 250, and you want to see people with a listing strength of a maximum of 5. So I want only listings with less than 250 ratings and a listing strength of less than 5. I can hit filter and that will change the results. And that's all that will be selected. So I've only got 22 listings on the page that fit that criteria. And that changes the dynamics and the figures a bit. That makes the launch budget a little bit better, and it bumped up that niche score because the competition is not as strong in that area. So you see how you can segment this and see if, you know, maybe the whole of page 1 is too much, but is there a section of it that I can get in and really compete against? And you can. Mm-hmm. So that changes everything.
I'd like to add that I always thought when I did some, okay, how do I know what numbers I want to look at? So if, awesome, we have the filters there, but what am I actually filtering out? So in the tracker sheet, I did add the link in the chat. If you go into there and download the tracker sheet, I believe we do have a page there where it has the graph that gives us, and these are just a guide. So if you're new, it is a guide that we suggest. It's not something that you hold us against, but it's a guide. And then again, as you become a seasoned researcher, you begin to know what exactly you're specifically looking for and your needs. So the filter, if you're not quite sure exactly how to approach product research, you don't feel like you need to use every single one of these tools all at once. You can literally just open the Chrome extension and scroll. And if let's say you're just focusing on the niche score, the search volume, and the revenue and launch budget, practice, because these tools, you need to practice how to use them, and then you get faster and faster and faster on analyzing, and then you can add filters, and then if you're curious, then you can add it to SalesFire, to love hate. So don't feel like you need to use everything at once. The point of today's training is to show you all the features that the Chrome extension can do. That doesn't mean that they need to be used all at the same time. Okay, and as I said, in the track sheet, it gives you a guide of what numbers or data points to look at if you are beginning.
Yes, and a question, Karuna, absolutely, you don't necessarily save it online, but you can download a CSV. So you've got the functionality here to download that CSV with all of that data, and you can take a look at that later. So that can save you a lot of note taking. Yeah. Okay, so another really cool feature. Now, I haven't played with this one. Have you played with a customized setting, Veronica?
I like it to see more data on page. So I like the density one.
Yeah. But so this will change what you can view. So if you don't care when it was created or how it's fulfilled, or maybe I care about how it's fulfilled, but I don't necessarily care about the weight or the category or the brand name. Those don't matter to me. I can change that. And then the density display. So you can make it a little bit bigger. I'm older, my eyes aren't so good. If my screen is smaller and I'm on my laptop sitting on the lounge, maybe I want to change that density, and it makes it a little bit easier to see. Yeah. So you see how that changed all of those features. Now, something else that I think is super cool that I want to show before we go and look at a couple of different searches and how we would use the Chrome extension to evaluate those searches is one really cool feature. If you have potentially multiple screens and you like to see things separate and not necessarily have it overlapping, you can hit this button and it will open it in a new window. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not. You probably can't, but it's just opened it up. Yeah. So it's opened it up in a new screen on my other page, but I have it. Nope. Oh, let me just drag it over.
You're able to open it up in a new tab. So for example, if you really want to see all the products there and just really, perfect. So it's a lot of data, but it's a great way to skim over it all.
Absolutely. So if you're not really worried about looking at the particular listings, you just want to see this and make it a whole tab, you can do that with that feature. Mm-hmm. All right. So we've taken a look at shower curtain sets. So let's take a look. I'm going to go back to Niche Finder, and I've got a couple of products that I've put into our favorites that I want to have a look at. So this is one that I found, and I just wanted to show you how you could take a look at a product that maybe isn't a strong product.
Hold on. Before you say anything else, Kimberly, I was just thinking of, I don't think we've particularly done this before, but now that we've spoken about the Chrome extension, maybe we could work with the crowd. So there's 22 of you listening to this, of working through it together. So if we came across this niche and we're looking at the Chrome extension, what are your thoughts? Okay, so we'll wait for everything to load up. Make it a little bit interactive, because I think like when you're looking at the data and making a decision on it instead of us telling you what we think, I think you learn better that way. So once everything learns, we'll look at the niche score. What are the thoughts on the niche score? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? From that data point, what does it tell us? If you'd like. write down your thoughts. As I said, it'll be great to be more interactive. So we're firstly looking at the niche score. What are our thoughts? If you're doing product research and you stumbled across this, what would be your actions based on that niche score?
Yeah, so we've got teenager coloring book. So what do you guys think? What do
you think? Let us know. So the niche score is 36. The buyer demand is 30. Competition opportunity is 66%. So it's quite a high score there. So that's high. Kimberly, is this Amazon.com that you're in?
Yeah, this is still the US.
Yeah. Investment sweet spot, so 41%. So it's a relatively low launch budget. So if your launch budget is lower, that is positive there. And revenue potential is 8%. So revenue potential, this is in the last 30 days, you can see is 2,948. So David said the niche score is a low move to another. Generally speaking,
yes, you wouldn't go any further.
Yeah. Even though it is good to go through all of the sections. So as I said, the buyer demand is low because, and how do we know that? From two data points. The search volume is only 172, and this is in the US marketplace. So there's not many people looking for, or at least using the keywords teenage coloring book. We know that the demand is low because the revenue is low as well. Competition is high, so that has a tick. Investment sweet spot is high, so that's a tick. But again, revenue potential is low. So then based on that, you can say, well, it's gone half-half, Veronica. What way do you go? You make an educated decision based on data to move forward. I personally
here's something that
immediately.
Here's something to think though, because if you feel like this is still a strong product, maybe it's the keyword, because all of this data is connected to just this keyword. So if you really feel strongly that it could be good and you're like, these numbers just aren't making sense, copy the ASINs, put it into Keywords on Fire, and see if you can uncover different keywords for this product that maybe would make the difference and make this a valuable product to pursue.
That's right.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a no-go. It just means maybe this is a keyword where, maybe you're launching coloring book, but maybe teenager coloring book, if you target that, maybe the PPC spend on it is low, and maybe it's a sub niche of your niche. Like say in the US, we want to find a niche within a niche. So maybe this is a way that you could, one of those long tail keywords that you could bump up your organic ranking in some of the other areas, because coloring book could be a really competitive niche and make it difficult to break into.
Yeah, so keyword research is important. But Nina just said the price is also low, or the average price $10.94. So yes, that would be another one that puts a X against it. So when we teach in ZonGuru, so we are around looking for products over $25. So the reason being is rule of thumb is that 30% of your money goes to your supplier, 30% goes to Amazon, and 30% goes to you. So we teach that you're trying to achieve a 30% profit margin. Rule of thumb, this varies greatly. However, if say you're selling something for $10, 30% of $10 is like $3. Yeah.
And and your PPC still has to come out of that. That's your gross profit margin. That's not your net margin.
Yeah, that's right. So you have to consider these things as well. So based on all of those points, more so low niche score, low price, and low demand, we'll be like, okay, I personally would go next, please.
Yeah. Now I'm just curious if coloring book is potentially a better niche, and that could be a sub niche of it. Better search volume, but I bet the price is still going to be low. Yeah, the price still isn't looking very good. See how that plays out when it loads. I'm interested to see how this turns out.
Nina just asked, do we have a session on Keywords on Fire? I'm assuming you're talking about having a live training on Keywords on Fire. Yes, we have them all the time. They will be coming up. most definitely.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
If you're
my favorite tool.
To see, OG of the tools. But if you're busting to see one of the tools now, you go into our live training tab on ZonGuru.com, and we have recordings from previous trainings that have been on Keywords on Fire.
Yeah, and if you're inside the tool, the need help button to the top right, you can always pull up a video tutorial and get a quick walkthrough there without saying a full live training, but just a quick walkthrough. And then the live trainings will often, deep dive into these little nuggets of knowledge and extra tips and things like we've tried to share with you today. So on the basis, 57% niche score is not bad. But again, that price point is so low. Your launch budget's good, your revenue is pretty good, but yeah. Again, I wouldn't touch this one, even though most of the data looks good, just purely because of the price.
Yeah. So the key example of how each you analyze each data point of how it suits you. So we give you guidance on that. Do we have any other examples that we have open?
Why don't we just go and take a look at? I don't have it open, but let's just pull up the trusty yoga mat and see what that number looks like and see what everyone thinks.
Yeah, so
would you pursue this marketplace?
So I'll read out the data points, but what are your thoughts? And it's not it's not a yes or no answer. What we would like to see is like your thought process. You should be looking at each data point and be like, oh, that's okay, that's got a tick, or that's got a X, or I'm not sure about this, or this influences that, because it is a complicated, it can be very quick, but when you're starting out, it is great to just look at it. Okay, why is this a good number?
And again, everyone's business is going to be different, and everyone, each seller could have completely different mindsets and priorities for their own business. So that's why it's, a lot of times people in support will ask me, would you do this? And it's like, well, I can't really answer that question, because I might say yes, but it might not, I might not have the fear of competing against competitors in a particular niche, but that might be something that you don't feel confident taking on. So, you can't really answer that. You have to answer those questions for yourself. So what's everyone's thoughts on yoga mat with 53% niche score?
Yeah. So what do we have here? So I can't see it on my screen, so that's why my head is coming in. So a buyer demand is 100%, guys. So people are obviously wanting the yoga mats. The search volume is over 200,000 searches in the last 30 days. There are a lot of people coming onto Amazon to buy a yoga mat, and that is reflected by the revenue. The average revenue of these competitors is over 100,000 per month, which is massive as well. Competition opportunity, 20%. Investment sweet spot, 0%. The launch budget here is $125,000, and the revenue potential is 92%. So what do we've got here? Nina, launch budget makes me want to cry. No, launch budget is too high. Yes, price is quite good. Budget is quite high. Competition is attractive. Old data phenomenal, but launch budget. Bronte,
I just want to back up for a second.
Over 20.
David. So David says competition is attractive. So I want to make sure that we're clear on this. So the competition opportunity of 20% is not good. That means your competition is really strong. You want that competition opportunity score to be high, which means you have poor competition that you could go against. So I just want to make sure that that was clear. I wasn't sure by your statement how you were looking at that score and evaluating that.
The competition
ratings are high too. That's another one.
If you go in the top left-hand corner, when it says, 1 of 48, over 1,000 results for yoga mat. So it's something to look at there as well in the beginning, like, how many products of this is available. And with a yoga mat, if you think of what a yoga mat is, and if you wanted, say, a lot of people, I love yoga, I'm a yogi, I love health and fitness, I want to sell a yoga mat. But when it comes to what Amazon is how are you going to, outshine a yoga mat? Kimberly, do you mind pressing on revenue? What's the top dog making for yoga mats? So
Wow.
over $600,000 in the last 30 days. So this top dog, for one reason or another, if we further investigated, they probably have beautiful branding. They probably have EPC. They probably were around, you know, when this was a really fresh niche. So you have to think, okay, you know, is my yoga mat going to have such a feature that it's, I don't know, it's a flying carpet or something that people like, I must have that. So that's when it comes to competition, is like, how are you going to make yours stand out? Because you're scrolling through, there's different colors, there's different patterns, there's, you know, different, you know, bags, or how you hold it. So how is yours going to be different? So that's when it's competition. So basically, what else do we have? Like Bronte did say that the price is over 25. Average price is $40, so it does have a fantastic price. But for this niche, is two things. Launch budget, 100% is, you know, do you have that launch budget? You know, if you're Nike, for schniz, you put Nike, you put the swish on there, it very easily can be on page one. But if you don't have that branding and that cash behind you, probably unlikely. And then also competition. So when I look at yoga mat, those are the two things that I'm looking at: launch budget, but also competition. Even if I did have, you know, 150 grand to splash, how could I make my yoga mat stand out among the crowd? Because yeah, all the other data points look fantastic. And when we look at the competition, we're also, as Kimberly said, we are looking at ratings. So on average, these yoga mats have over 6,000 reviews. So if Kimberly, maybe you can show how you were looking at the reviews previously and see what the data points were.
I mean, there is some sales happening for people with a few reviews, but still, it's going to take so much money to get into this space and to stand out. I mean, that's one thing that we teach, is visual differentiation. And most of these look the same. A few have designs. A couple of them have yoga poses listed on them, which is really cool. But still, it's going to take such a large budget. But if you were really, really passionate about this, there is still a way that you could potentially launch this product. And this is something that's really, really cool. You've looked at this in the US. What about this in Australia? That could be completely different. So why don't we take a look, just for fun. Let me just go up here. I'll just open a new tab.
Yeah, because you could 100%, when you're doing your product research, exactly what we've done just now, looking at a product in the US that is, I mean, we've personally done on our product research, is that you're looking at a product, you found something that is absolutely killing it in the US. You have to think, question mark, can this work in another marketplace? Now, not all products, you have to think about cultural differences, okay? Something that explodes, like, for example, Starbucks, killing it in America, it died in Australia, okay? We are coffee snobs over here. So that's just an example of how something that was absolutely smashing it in the US didn't work in Australia. So when you're looking at your product research in the US to take it to another marketplace, having an indication, does it perform here? Okay, awesome. Let's have a look. So then you start your market research again from the beginning, but in another marketplace to see if it works. And something that when you are crossing over the marketplaces, keywords on fire, looking at those keywords is crucial, because we do use different words in different countries. So, you know, in Australia, we use barbecue. I think in America, the term grill is used more so. Is that right, Kimberly?
Exactly.
Let's say I made that up, but maybe I don't know. I need to go and do more research to make sure that I'm also using the right keyword to actually do a proper research on this product as well.
Yeah, see, if you say barbecue to someone in the United States, they're thinking smoking meat and barbecue sauce and that type of thing, where here it's just anything you're throwing on, you know, the gas grill, which is what we call it in America. So Anthony's asked a question, you might need to find a micro niche to get in this item. And that's a really good point. So if you're really passionate about yoga mats and you really want to do it in the US, you could look at those really long tail keywords and maybe something really specific. You know, maybe there's, you know, extra thick yoga mat for, you know, rehabilitation, you know, and maybe there's something there. I just made that up, pulled that out of thin air. I have no idea. But looking here in Australia, this looks a little bit more doable. So, you know, you've got, so Eliza's asked if we can repeat the points about how to look at the numbers in competition. Yeah, okay, so let's just evaluate this one in the Australian marketplace. So we've got a 67% niche score, which is really good. We've got a search volume of 2,961, which for Australia, that's a really strong search volume. The search volumes are not as high in Australia yet because it is an emerging marketplace, and Australians are coming on board with Amazon, but not everyone is doing it like they are in America. So we've got buyer demand of 98%. So again, for Australia, that's a strong search volume. Competition opportunity, 57%. So with all of the components of the niche score, all of these 4 components that make up the rainbow, you want them all to be high numbers. So competition opportunity, 57%, tells me there is room to compete against the other sellers on page 1. Investment sweet spot, 62%. So your launch budget's only 9,000. So that's much more feasible, I think, for a lot of sellers. And your revenue potential of 50%, $7,500 a month in revenue. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's, if you have a few products doing this, I don't necessarily look for me to have one blockbuster product that's making $100,000 a month. I want to have a suite of products that's making $100,000 in revenue a month. So let's just do what we did before. So let's take a look. Revenue, we'll sort by revenue. So the highest is making 52,000. That's pretty good. They only have 102 ratings. Do you feel like you could compete against that? I feel like I could compete against that. And then look at fulfillment. So we do have a few. So we've got some merchant fulfilled here. So these are people that have it either in a shed or in their garage, and they're chucking it down to Australia Post every couple of days and sending out their products to their customers. So, there's room to compete on page 1 if you're FBA, because you've got people here who are not doing it FBA. So yeah, this for me, I don't know about you, but for me, if this is something I really felt strongly about, now I would start looking and seeing how can I visually differentiate in this marketplace, and can I get in here and stand out on page 1?
So that's the next thing I wanted to say. So the data points, so this is the Chrome extension. You start from a high level. So from your high level, this looks something that I could really get into versus the one in the US. But then you have to go in further, because even though the data points are there, you still need to be like, okay, there are still a lot of yoga mats here. What is going to make yours stand out? If you don't have a well-known brand, why is someone going to click on your yoga mat if they've already got plenty of yoga mats to choose from? So you need to still think, okay, how would I make my yoga mat differently? Do I still have a launch? For something like this, you'd still need to advertise. Would it be something based on that you already have a following? You're a yogi, you're a yoga instructor, you have a following on Instagram or TikTok, and then you have something to sell your audience that is directed to Amazon. So there are different ways to also go around advertising, especially when it's something a product like this that a lot of people have a passion for. This is something that people are passionate for. It has gas factor. So when I say gas factor, gives a shit factor that people like. I know I have a beautiful yoga mat from Lululemon. It cost far too much. I still wanted it. It's pink and I really love it. Okay, it cost me like $100 for a yoga mat, but I wanted it because of the brand. And it's obviously awesome quality. Like Lululemon has an established brand that people trust. So when someone comes onto Amazon, what's going to be the difference between your yoga mat and Lululemon mat, or a mat that's on here for $20? So again, things that you need to think about. Just because there's good data points, you can't just slap a yoga mat in there and be like, okay, I'm going to be rich now. Yeah.
So there's a lot of people on here that have done just that. They just slapped a yoga mat on here. There are a few that have some visual differentiation, but one thing I noticed that is not here is that one that had all of the different yoga poses on it is not here. So, that's something that, maybe I could do a design like that and bring it in. Now they do, this one I think is quite cool because it helps you with your alignment. So it has the different lines so you can keep your poses in the correct form. And there's a few, like this one looks like it's cork, potentially. And then there's a few that have some pretty designs on them, different patterns. But yeah, so there's potentially room if you really wanted to sell yoga mats to do it in Australia.
What's another thing that you can also do is that go back to the US, look at their #1 yoga mat. What is their #1 or their top 5 yoga mats? Are those top 5 yoga mats selling in Australia? If not, you can actually copy what they're selling. You don't want to copy them, but you model this #1 for example, Kimberly mentioned the one that has all the different yoga poses. If that's in the top 5 and it's not selling there, then that's like immediate. You're like, bam, that is #1 in US. It is not in Australia at all. I'm going to do something like that.
There we go.
So you can get an idea from that as well.
Yeah. So that one right there.
I don't think you can see the screen that you're sharing. Just quickly, Adam, you said about the tracker sheet. So I just tried it on my computer. So I apologize. It's not emailed to you. When you put in your email address, it should open to another landing page saying thank you. And it has the list of the different tracking sheets based on the marketplaces. You click on it and it downloads onto your computer. If it's not working for you, maybe, go into another tab. So I said, I've just done it right now and it has worked for me. So it should be working for you too.
I'm going to stop screen sharing if I can get my mouse to cooperate. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. This multiple screens is doing my head in. I love it. But,
right. So I just wanted the time, Kimberly. We've actually been talking for an hour.
Yeah. So I wanted to open it up to questions. And there is one question in the chat box about which marketplace would be recommended to sell on. And again, that is going to be based on your own business and what your priorities, what your availabilities are, what you can do. So everyone's business priorities are going to be different.
He says, my current numbers are showing something different from your yoga mat in Australia. Have any ideas? So it depends on what ASINs you have selected. Anything else to add?
And I don't know if it would possibly impact the postcode that was put in, because some sellers may not be available. I mean, I'm just reaching here. I don't know if that actually could have an impact on it.
That's actually a fantastic point. When you are doing your product research, so if I'm doing Amazon.com, so in the US marketplace, in the left-hand side, make sure you put an American zip code in there. Because often when I go onto Amazon, it defaults to my zip code in Australia, in Queensland. Therefore, my searches are different than if I was living in the US. So if you don't know a zip code, you just Google LA zip code or whatever, and make sure the zip code is in the country that you actually want to sell in as well. Because the product
I think everyone knows I don't know about the age group of everyone here, but I think most people would be able to pull up 90210. So as a US postcode, I think that's a pretty famous one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
all right, in terms of David, to respond to that, so we don't when it comes to any assistance using the ZonGuru tools. So if you use the ZonGuru tools, you pay for the services. We have 24/7 support, and it's in the right-hand side. There's a little icon that you click on it, and we do try to, we should be responding within an hour. So that is assistance regarding the tools. If you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure what this means, or my numbers aren't working up or adding up, we have a team dedicated to helping you, as I said, and it's it is 24/7. Our team is an international team, so we have people around the clock. So we don't have a service where you can email us personally, but we do have our support team there to answer questions about that. Otherwise, we do have our live trainings. We have these weekly, and this is why we have this Q&A here that you can ask us anything about Amazon, and we'll answer them. We're all sellers ourselves. We'll answer them to the best of our ability and our experience. We don't claim we know everything, but as I said, it's awesome to connect with the community who are, we're all trying going for the same thing, aren't we?
Yeah. So Kevin has asked if you want to launch products in Amazon US FBA, what are the best shipping methods available for shipping into Amazon US fulfillment centers? So that's going to depend on your product. Some people, if you have something like that shower curtain set, that's going to be very small. It's going to be very lightweight. You might be able to afford to have that air freighted into a 3PL. Right now, and I heard someone speaking yesterday. Back when I started, before I got my first product launched, everyone pretty much just placed their order, and the whole thing went straight into Amazon fulfillment. and then the pandemic happened. And so that is not necessarily an option anymore. And I don't think it's ever going to go back to that being an option. Sorry, my phone is buzzing. I've got to make it be quiet.
So Kevin just said you manufacture in-house. So you need to go find an aggregator, a 3PL aggregator, and say, this is the product. So you need to know, the weight, size, of the cartons. And then they can give you the best quote of, what freight forwarders can get your goods from destination A, A to B, basically. So that varies from 3PLs. That does take a lot of research.
There is actually one, though, one of our partners that I've spoken with recently that would probably be a good resource for you to connect with is My FBA Prep. And they focus on that type of thing, kitting things, prepping them either to go into Amazon or go to customers. So they might be a resource for you, and they're online.
Yeah. And if you're prepping them yourself, just be aware that, make sure you have your barcodes, but then make sure you have your specific Amazon labels created, and they need to be slapped on that carton. Otherwise, Amazon won't accept them. So that's done in your Amazon Seller Central account to get all of those details there. I have a product idea from Angela. Can I use the numbers with ZonGuru to confirm understanding? Yeah, if you have something that you're already thinking about, you can kind of like reverse engineer and, type in the keyword onto Amazon.com or whatever marketplace you're wanting to sell, and look at the Chrome extension, do love, hate, sales spike, all of it. Keywords on fire. You can do all of the details if you have a product in mind, most definitely. Like if you're in the shop,
that's how I started.
Yeah, we see something, I'm like, that's cool, and immediately our whole household, we're like, I wonder if that's selling on Amazon. Like instantly, like it becomes a game, because you're like, it's clever, and it's usually those products that you're like, what even is that, or how did someone even think about selling it? So it is pretty cool.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. If you see it on the shelves, in a retail store, there's demand for it, because those buyers aren't buying it if it's not going to sell. Excuse me. But I started out, I think, in my research before Niche Finder. So I just came up with ideas on my own and started with Chrome extension to do all my research, and just went with different ideas that way.
You're right.
Oh, good. Okay, so apart from Alibaba, how do we source products locally in Australia? That is the $1 million question.
Yeah. It depends what you're selling, because I know I've heard of people that are like, oh, I source in Australia, and then I'm like, what are you selling? And they, they're selling tea or something. I'm like, that's really interesting. But a lot of the manufacturing, is done, in China. India does have resources as well. However, due to the pandemic, countries are being affected, which is affecting how everything functions, which is obviously, it is what it is, unfortunately, but it's things to take into consideration in regarding how to look for these suppliers. It is research. So Alibaba does have filters that you can add. They only have like a selection of countries where you can filter what country if you're looking specifically. But I guess Alibaba is the biggest platform that offers you the different type of suppliers. So I personally, unfortunately, I am looking, for my own supplies within Australia, because it would, shipping right now is just astronomical. Like it is ridiculous how much to even get a sample sent here is ridiculous right now. So, if anyone finds suppliers of anything, let us know. But unfortunately, personally, I don't have any, recommendation to pass on in Australia.
What I've done, because right now I'm trying to source my product. I've been sourcing it out of China. I'm trying to source it in North America for my US sales, but for Australia, I'm trying to find a manufacturer here too. And I literally just went to Google and just went, manufacturers Australia. And, a lot of them I found were more artisan and were not going to be able to create, mass produce my product. But I did find a couple that were producing larger quantities of a similar product. So I've just reached out to a few, and it is kind of it's just old fashioned, Google research and looking at their websites and seeing if you think they could do the product. But here's one, you have to be careful too, because I found one manufacturer when I was looking in the United States. I was like, oh, great, it's a US manufacturer who makes my type of product. And I went to them and I looked under wholesale, and I clicked on their page. It's like, yeah, we source our products from Asia. And I'm like, no, how can you say you're an American manufacturer? So you do have to, really investigate a bit.
Yeah, definitely. We've got, as a beginner with limited budget, would you recommend trying to sell your first product in US or Australia?
Limited budget is typically going to be easier in Australia, but then conversely, your sales may not be as high. So it depends on the niche.
Yeah, it's a very subjective question, really, because it's, I've sold in the US. I'm all about the Australian bandwagon right now. Like, I'm super excited about that. And I think I've got something like, if my products can come to Brisbane and I could physically see them, that personally really excites me, because, you order all this product from, somewhere overseas, then they're on the ship for God knows how long, and then they're over here, and then they're here, and you have such little control sometimes, and it can be really stressful. That's obviously part of the process. I'm not telling you to discourage you, but personally, where we're at and going through a few challenges and, curveballs when it comes to that, I'm really excited to being in the same country as my products are going to arrive in. But yeah, limited budget, as Kimberly said. There may be more opportunity in Australia in terms of launching, but then obviously you can't expect a small budget and then make, you adjust your expectations in terms of the revenue that's coming in as well. But that makes sense. And obviously, if you start small and you sell out, and then it compounds and you grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So I personally am really enjoying the idea of, instead of focusing on one huge product and thinking, oh, this product is going to make me millions, I like the idea of like lots of small products, making, like, yes. Imagine if you had 5 products that were all bringing you, even $2,000 profit a month. That's 10 grand profit. That's life-changing, just that. And then imagine if they move to 3 grand each. So I know that when we're looking at the Chrome extension, we're looking at like hundreds of thousands, and then you find products they're making $1 million in 30 days. You're like, that's incredible. But I had a conversation with a partner. Their biggest month was 3 million revenue, but their profit margin was at 5%. Now, obviously, that's still huge, but you need to, when it comes to like looking at your launch budget and then comparing yourself to the big dogs, completely different scenarios. So I think it's like, when you do have even if you've got 5 grand, you could easily launch a product in Australia for 5 grand, and then, you sell, you bring in some profit, and then you order again, and then you continue growing. So that's, but yeah, US or Australia, it depends on what product you find and where it works. And I think there's a personal preference there.
Yeah, everyone's business metrics are going to be different.
Life-changing. So it is like, I like to look at those. I don't want to say realistic goals, because I think your goals should be as big as you want them. But I like to think like our number or goal is, for example, my partner to not have to work, like that. He solely is working on our business. Because people are like, oh, that's not a very big goal. I'm just like, what do you mean? We can travel and earn money at the same time. And obviously we do have bigger goals, but that's our first one, and that would immediately make our lives different. So
100%. Yeah. That's my goal is, my first goal was to retire myself from nursing, and I'm down to 2 shifts a month. So yay me. And my next goal is to retire my husband. And, it's looking at that, I call it a digital nomad lifestyle. As I have my laptop, I can work anywhere. It doesn't matter. And so, yeah, that's the goal. That's the dream.
Yeah. So yeah, or don't get overwhelmed. If you've got, you can very easily launch on $5,000.
100%. 100%.
100%. And then and then compound. And then if that one's trotting along, making you $2 grand a month, find another product that makes you $2 grand a month. You as an individual can live off of that. Obviously, you need to reinvest in your business as well, so take that into consideration. But it can be,
I was just going to say
look at the small numbers. Yeah.
For me, I felt like I had a huge success when I placed my second order. And even with the increase in shipping costs, when I sold out my first lot and placed my second order, it was for a repeat of one product and adding another product. I had enough money from all of my proceeds of sales to I think probably like 95% pay for that next order. And it was like, that's a win. That is 100% of a win. And because it was also a bigger order, it was a higher quantity and it was 2 products. So, that was, hashtag winning on that one. So
yeah, it's amazing what you can do. I feel like hearing personal stories that aren't like, oh, billions of dollars, like you're like, oh, that person, like we are all alike. My younger brother, he's 26. He does Amazon full time. He has one product. He's been working really hard for the last 3 years. But about, I think maybe 18 months ago, he was able to, he pays himself. And because he is very business orientated, he does reinvest into his business heavily. But he lives with my partner and I on the Gold Coast. He's 26 years old. He does whatever he wants. And, he has big goals, but that's already, if he, say if he's paying himself like a reasonable wage in terms of who someone works 40 hours a week and he's paying himself that's not something that rock stars are making. However, he can go anywhere he wants. He, sleeps, eats, hangs out with his friends. If he wants to spend 3 hours at the gym, he can, because that's the lifestyle that he chooses. And that's what makes a difference and what Amazon is able to do.
Yeah. Okay. So I've explained it a couple of times, so maybe a different explanation would make more sense. So why don't you take this one, Veronica?
Yeah. So Eliza, you're asking about the competition. So if I read out the question, little recap on how to figure out the numbers in niche competition. So the niche competition. So when you're looking at the niche score, you have the rainbow. So I don't want you to get too caught up on that. So you've got the rainbow, and the rainbow gives you a summary of the 4 points. Okay, so one of them is the competition, launch budget. So what they mean, so sweet spot, the demand, and the revenue potential. So when we talk about competition, ZonGuru does a little like calculation on how competitive is a niche. Okay, so sorry, no, I'm saying it the wrong way. I need to get it up in front of me.
No.
Do you mind sharing the screen so I can look at it?
Sure.
So, because I'm about to explain it backwards, because that's what it makes sense in my head.
Oops. I just did something. There we go.
So we're on yoga mats here, and so for everyone looking, it is the second square. It says 20% is the orange square, if you can hover over that, Kimberly. So we're looking at 20%. So we're saying that it's 20%, therefore it is a high competition. So the reason that it's a low number, so this number is actually reflecting that, okay, what is your percentage? What is your chances of beating the competition? Let's look at it that way. Okay, so if you've only got a 20% chance of penetrating the competition, then that's quite low. So Liza, just want to know, the higher the number, the lower the competition, or is it the opposite? So the lower the number, the higher the competition. So when we look at this, we're talking about what are your chances to penetrate the competition. Is 20% of you penetrating and beating the competition, that's low. Okay.
So basically, you want all of the numbers that make up these 4 components of the niche score. You want them all to be high, and that's good for you.
Yeah, they're all high. All of these numbers you want to be high. The only number that you want to be low is the BSR.
The listing score. No.
Sorry,
you want your own BSR to be low.
Low, but we're doing
BSR to be low.
Ratings. Sorry, I'm like looking up there.
Yeah.
Okay,
so you want. Yeah, so you want all of these numbers to be high. So all of these numbers high. You want the BSR to be high, because that means they're not well ranked. You want the listing score to be low, because that means they don't have a good listing. You want the rating to be low, which means they're not well reviewed. and you want the number of ratings to be low, which means they don't have many reviews or ratings.
Okay, so in summary, everything to do with the rainbow, we want to be high. Everything we want to do with the ratings or reviews, we want to be low. Is that clear, Liza? And if you hover over competition opportunity, does it give a description over that or not?
No, it doesn't. But if you click this, it goes to an FAQ that goes through the breakdown of what it means. And you can find that if you're, so this will take you to that FAQ that gives you a breakdown on what the niche rainbow means. And if you ever go within the platform, I'll just show here, within the platform, if you can't find, like if you're within a tool, you've got need help, which will give you video tutorials, FAQs, or connect you with support or support down here. But you also have your learn and grow menu here, and you've got help and training. So your help and training you can go to, and you can just type in, competition opportunity, and it'll pull up different FAQs or tutorials that will address that.
Yeah.
All right.
Before we go, because this is a long one, but I think it's great to have like lots of questions and
I do too.
Just have a chat. But something, because I know Amazon can be very overwhelming. I'm not quite sure, what stage you guys are in your Amazon journey or where you are learning from. But something that for any beginners out there, I do suggest find a mentor, find someone that that you can learn from. And just in terms of ZonGuru, we do have it's called our Quick Start Challenge. And our Quick Start Challenge, and I'll put the link in here. So this is a tutorial base. So it goes for 13 days, and there's a tutorial on each step that you need to do to find a product, validate that product, and then start talking to a supplier. So this is a step-by-step 13 days. So if you're on here and you're like, okay, I've been thinking about Amazon, I've been doing this, but I'm not quite sure what order, this gives you, okay, day one, you do this. And the great thing with this is that you can't go ahead. It will only unlock once you have finished the video or the module on that day one. So if you like a systematic approach, this is more so for product research. We do have a seller one. If anyone wants to know, just let the support know. But in terms of researchers, I do suggest to get on board with this, because it is a resource that you can use and gives you guidance on what steps to take.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brilliant challenge, and it will take you, like I said, step by step. Within 2 weeks, you could go from zero to hero and have a product ready to be purchased and put it on the water or put it in the air and get it into Amazon. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, one last question. You're very welcome, Nina. Is there any community for FBA sellers based in Australia? So do you have the link to our Facebook group, Veronica?
Amazon Seller Network is the name of it, but I will send you the link because someone the other day couldn't find it. So this is the link. I know the name in the link is different, but our name changed. That's our Facebook community. So if you'd like to be part of our Facebook community, feel free. You can post questions in there. We try to answer them. The community answer them. And then if there's any webinar, podcast, a partner event, anything Amazon related, we just share it on there. And, if you guys want to listen to that or tune in, learn from that, you have that opportunity as well.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're wrapping it
Awesome.
up.
Well,
1 hour and 22 minutes. It's been great.
I'm so thirsty. Thanks so much, Veronica. All right, guys. So listen, thanks very much. Again, you'll get a replay recording. If you have any questions that come up later on as you're using Chrome extension, just pop them into the support channel. Like Veronica said, we're available 24/7 on the support team. So you guys have a fantastic rest of your week and a great weekend. And we'll be here next week with another training focused on continuing your journey in product research. So see you guys.